Go to this URL to look at the Django documentation for signals. I want to be able to track customer orders. When a user makes a purchase, I'm going to use Django signals to create a Stripe customer object. But before I do that, I want to associate each user with their profile. So I need to change my model. Open Sublime Text and open your profile app's models.py file. First, I need to import my settings file. So in line 2, type from django.conf import settings. Now I'm going to make a user field in my profile model, and this user will be associated to the auth user model. To do that, type user equals models.121 field, and it will be settings.auth underscore, auth needs to be all capitals, user model. And then null will equal true, and blank will equal true. A one-to-one field is a foreign key. It allows me to relate my profile model to my auth user model. I'm going to make a new model. Underneath the Unicode, type class user stripe. That'll be this model's name, and it will be models.model. And then I'll make another user field, very similar to this one. So I'll just copy and paste that. Just tab it in correctly. And then I'll just delete null equals true and blank equals true. And then I'll create another field in the user stripe model. And this field will be called stripe underscore ID. And it will be a char field. So models.char field. It will have a max length of 200. And null will be true. And blank will also be true. For the Unicode, type, I'll just copy this Unicode and change it. And it will still take in self. But this Unicode, if the user has a self stripe, so if this user has the stripe ID, the Unicode will return, sorry, I got to tab that in. It will return a string with that user's stripe ID as the Unicode. But if that user does not have a stripe ID, so else, then this Unicode will return the user's username as its Unicode. I need to import all auth signals so I could use it later. So in line 3, type from allauth.account.signals import, and I'll be using the user logged in signal and the user signed up signal. Save your profile models.py, and I want to add user stripe to admin. So open admin.py, and first I need to import my user stripe model. So in admin.py from .models import user stripe, that's the model name. And then for my admin class, I'll just copy this one and change it. And it will be called class user stripe admin. And it will be admin.model admin. And the model is user stripe. And I'm going to register the user stripe model and the user stripe admin. Save admin.py, open your terminal, and run python manage.py make migrations. Oh, models.py line 20, invalid syntax. Let's see. Oh, I forgot the colon. Just like else has a colon, this if statement needs a colon. So now if you save that and run python manage.py make migrations again. Okay, great. Now run python manage.py migrate. Okay, awesome. Run your server. Run server. And go to Chrome. Go to your project's homepage. Go to your admin. Then click on Profiles. Hit Add Profile. There is now a user field. And this user field associates a profile with a user. So if I fill out this form and click Save, and then if I try to add the same user to another profile, and try to hit save again, I get an error. And this is because user is a one-to-one field in my model, here and here. So each user can only be associated with one profile. Go back to your admin page, and this time go to user stripes. Hit add user stripe, and I can now associate a user with a user stripe, with the stripe ID. I'm going to implement a signal called user logged in, and when a user logs in, the signal will be sent to a receiver function, which will do something. So go to this URL, and then click Connecting Receiver Functions. Click Receiver Functions, and copy this receiver function. Go back to your models page, and on line 25, I'll just paste that in. And I'll delete the brackets around request finish. I want to see which keyword arguments are sent with the callback. So I'll print them. On line 27, type print keywords. Go back to Django's documentation. And now scroll down to connecting receiver functions. Look at this line of code. This line of code is connecting a signal to a receiver function. So the signal is request finished, and it's being connected to the receiver function myCallback. In my project, I want to connect the signal user logged in to myCallback. So go back to your model and type on line 29 user logged in, and it will connect to myCallback. So now when a user logs in, myCallback will do something. But first, we're just going to see what myCallback prints out. So save models.py, go back to your site's homepage, log in and log out. Log out and log back in. Open terminal, and scroll up until you find request finished, right here. And that's being printed because of this print statement here. And then the keyword arguments are also being printed in a huge dictionary. So under request finished, if I scroll to the bottom, one parameter of this dictionary is user. So I want to print this user. Go back to your models. And I'm not going to print the keyword arguments anymore. This time I'll print user. And then I also have to put the user and request in. Save models.py. Go back to your home page. Log out. log back in, open terminal, and I can see that the user is printed. When a user logs in, I want my model to create a profile and user stripe. So before I do that, go to your admin, and I'm just going to delete everything from profiles and just start fresh. And then if you have anything in your user stripes, make sure to delete that too. Then go back to your function in your models, my callback. And I'm going to change what this method does. So I'm going to make this create an ID stripe. So type, well, actually, right now I don't need print request finished. And I actually don't need print user either, so we just delete both of those. And now this my callback method will create a stripe, ID stripe. So type ID stripe created, and it's going to be a user stripe, this model. So user stripe dot get or create, and it's going to be this user. So user equals user. If ID stripe is created, so if created, I'm going to print this statement, created for, and I'll use string substitution again to substitute in the username. So it'll say created for user.username. And it'll substitute in the username here. So now when a user logs in, I also want my model to create a profile for them. So type profile. Actually, I'll call this user profile created. And that will equal user stripe oh no, it needs to be, I'm going to create a profile, so it needs to equal the profile model. And it will be objects dot get or create user equals user. And if it is created, sorry, this should be is created, because that's already created. So if is created, I'm going to change the user profile I'm going to change the user profile's name to the user's username, and then I'll save that user profile. So now if a stripe ID is created for username will be printed. If a profile is created, the username is saved as the profile name. So save your models.py file. Go back to your site's homepage. Line 31. Let's take a look. I'm going to call it is underscore created because I think I might be having problems with that name. Let's take a look again. Oh, I'm forgetting the colon again. The colons are the bane of my existence. I'm sorry. So that'll work. Okay, great. Now go back to your home page, log out, log back in. Get it. Let's take a look here. User Stripe has no attribute get or create. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot. It needs to be user stripe dot objects because it's an object dot get or create. And the same thing for the profile. It's all about the details in programming. Like I said, we'll roll with the punches. Let's try this again. Log back in. Okay, great. Now go to your admin. Click user stripes. I'll click on this user stripe. There is no stripe ID. However, this instance of user stripe is associated with my username, and it was created when I logged in. If I go back to my admin and hit profiles, there's a profile with my username as the profile name. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll continue to work on this model, refactor the code, and make it a little more functional. See you there.